office for marijuana, mostly, all of the first 9 are medical. Thing about patents is, especially U.S. patents, is that they really are considered the gold standard in science and in commerce, and legal. They go after a patent because somebody finds something useful and good and can replicate it. And they want to protect themselves so that they can, protect themselves. It's a legal issue. So patents demand everything. They demand every single thing that you did. They demand every ingredient. They demand every procedure. They demand it all. And you have to give it to them. The deal is, if you follow a patent, you get the same results that they've got. Now, first patent that you would come to after this is a patent issued in October 7th of 2003. It's for cannabinoids and antioxidants and neuroprotectants. The assignee is the United States of America, represented by the Department of Human Health and Services. The United States has a patent on medical marijuana for its good use. Next one I gave is was just done on March 7th of this year, and it's on cancer, the treatments of cancer. And it covers, preferably, the cancer to be treated is cancer of the prostate, cancer of the breast, or cancer of the colon. I do have full copies of these things, but I only gave you the cover page. But if you get into the balance of this, it isn't that it just helps a little. This particular patent says that it actually stops the cancer from going all over the It stops it from doing that. It stops tumors from growing. It shrinks tumors, and it literally eradicates tumors. And it gets into how it does it. So this patent says right now there's a cure for those 3 cancers. This one, done February 11th, 2010, is the treatment of peripheral neuropathic pain. That's like,
probably consequence from diabetes.
Yeah.
Where
Well, yes, that would certainly work. There's one that nerve pain that people.
Fibromyalgia.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And if you get into the meat of each of these patents, they're just a phenomenal thing that it really does do with it. The next one I gave you is one on chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Any of these could hit me at any time. I'm going to be 62, and I mean these things are stuff that we fight with. This one is treating or preventing diabetes with cannabidiol, which is another cannabinoid manufactured in the female flower. This one right here is anti-nausea, anti-vomiting activity of cannabidiol compounds. This one, use of cannabinoids as anti-inflammatory agents. Institute of Rheumatology is the one that has this, and it's for arthritis. These things all are proven that they work. They're not out. In other words, nobody's talking about it. But they exist. They truly exist. Since we found these first 9, my daughter-in-law has uncovered 153 patents. So the idea that it is of no use and no good medically is baloney. It's absolutely baloney. And if the United States government were taken to court right now and these patents presented, they would be found guilty. Where's the U.S. government today? Well, they got these patents. 17 states have laws about medical marijuana, and as our law, and Washington's, legalization for 21 for recreational use. 17 to 20 states, I've heard both numbers, plan to have it on the next general election, which is 2014, and every one of those states think it's going to win. Every one of them do. In addition, Washington goes by polls. They do nothing, they live on polls. And the polls that have been generated on marijuana show that in every state, all 50 states, there are a majority of the citizens that would like to see marijuana legalized. So as far as the federal government goes, I'm really not sure where they are, but I think they've got their hands full. I truly do. What has the current ban on medical marijuana caused? Well, there are a lot of people here in this town that have medical marijuana licenses. I mean, I do. I use it because I've got pains. I've got pains that I've dealt with for years, and it works. There are several in this community. I talked to a lady, I think she might be your partner. Please.
Please don't
Okay, I'm
identify
sorry.
individuals
I'm
by
sure
name,
sorry.
please.
Somebody I know has had a lot of accidents in her life and has all kinds of issues and has a card, and yet she tells her friends about it and they just say, oh, you just found it easy to, you just found a way to get high. You need a way to get high. It's a prejudicial thing. But the people who live here in town who have those cards have to travel all the way to Pueblo to find any decent array of bud to help them with. They've got to go 200 miles, you know, round trip to get what they need. And yet, if you have a prescription for any other drug, and you can go to 3 different pharmacies right here in town and pick it up. So it isn't right, to be honest with you. It just is not right. There's a need for medical dispensaries right now in the area. As far as the state goes, I don't think there's a current moratorium on medical dispensaries or on MIPS, which is marijuana-infused products companies, or on off-site grow facilities. I think that moratorium is gone, has been gone for a full year. And so the opportunity for people to work in those areas exists if the ban were there. The new law, Amendment 64, is for recreational use. It was brought forward and pushed through by a company called Safer Inc.
Mr. Clark, I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment. Typically, with the audience of patrons, we allow 3 minutes, but we sort of set a practice this evening of allowing people to go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I'd encourage you if you could summarize your remarks, and then I would certainly suggest that you have further dialogue with Mr. Aker and Mr. Downs, because council is going to have to wrestle with this issue.
That's really what we're trying to do.
Yes.
We're really not trying to be antagonistic about it.
Oh, no, sir.
What we think is that a field committee ought to be formed that really looks into it and see what is actually available. The economic advantages of the new market. You can't rule out tourism. You just can't do it. It would mean the difference between somebody stopping in Trinidad or just passing it by if they didn't need gas. But if they get into Trinidad to look for a dispensary, they're going to look all around the city, and they might go to a restaurant, they might do whatever. It could help just in that way. Hemp is a huge benefit, and there's an awful lot to talk about it, but it is like a life stream for the farmers.
As we move forward with wrestling with the issues created by Amendment 64, I reasonably anticipate we are probably going to need a work session just on that topic. And I would certainly encourage you to provide information that you'd like us to consider to Mr. Downs, and we'll make an opportunity available where you can fully inform us about your viewpoints, because we certainly do want to hear that.
Well, I appreciate that. I do.
Yes,
I know that there's that what you've got in effect is in effect for a certain length of time, and I'm
Yes,
just fine with that.
Yeah.
We would both like to go away thinking that perhaps you have started, if you're not there, you've started to take a look at the plan.
If I could say something.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bernard.
I think that the first thing that we have to look at is, that we have a moratorium on this for December or something like that.
I think it's October.
October like that.
October 1.
And like the mayor said, we have to address this more, probably with a work session and with our city attorney. But your question that you're trying to deliver to council is trying to get legalized marijuana established within our city. Is that what you're asking the council, or distribution centers to be put in our city? Is that what you're asking council tonight?
Yes. Sure, I absolutely, especially as far as the medical goes, there's a real need. And if we show the rest of the state of Colorado that we're not dead set against this, we're looking at it and we'd like to go with it if we can. And it makes a huge difference in anybody looking at this area.
Well, our hands are probably tied up right now until we get something from the state level that comes down to the city levels where we could talk with our attorney, and then that comes from the attorney, comes to the council, and then we have to go from there. But I do appreciate you speaking on that, but like I say, right now, we could listen, but there's not too much action we could do right now on it, so.
I do here, I just kind of wanted to get in front of you, we didn't know how it would go.
It's fine.
Thank you. You also referenced the previous reaction you got from the county commissioners.
Yes, ma'am.
I would not assume that you're going to get that same reaction from the council. I think we have to deliberate and we have to talk.
Super.
But I think you might find
appreciate
more
that.
open minds.
Yes, I think you'll find that city council is more open-minded, and we're also concerned about, economic impact. The majority of voters in Los Animas County voted for it. I mean, that's a mandate from, or a signal from the citizens. So, we've got a lot to think about and digest. And, but if we can put that off for a work session, we'd appreciate you coming back.
Absolutely love to do that, and I would really appreciate your time.
Yes,
Really
thank
do.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
The next speaker is Ms. Loretta Martin. Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Thank you. I'm Loretta Martin. I've been here once before asking you to protect Trinidad's history and our property, and I'm so glad that there were breaks between Mr. Fletcher and myself because my blood pressure was ready to... Anyway, we would like to ask you, even though these records have been digitized, we would like to retain the originals here in our state, in our county, because they are our history. They're not Mr. Fletcher's. And the story, that he gave to us, unfortunately, he didn't tell you the whole story. We witnessed Mr. Fletcher take, advantage of all the stuff that was in the library, and he personally abused it. We saw him take these huge books, bend them, put them on the copy machine. And I think it's pretty ironic that now that he's used them, he's very concerned about the stability of these records. So I would like to ask you to, think about this. I'm not an attorney. You have a city attorney. But we have kind of come to the conclusion that these records came to the library in the mid-1980s, so they've been here almost 30 years. I have heard about this legal technicality, if you will, called adverse possession. And I think that this case qualifies. Like I said, I'm not an attorney. You have an attorney. But Ms. Gallardi brought these records to the library in the mid-1980s. She entrusted their care to the library. She made them available for research. That should say volumes, that she did not want one individual to have possession of these records, that they were to be used. Also, I'd like to correct a few things that Mr. Fletcher said. The Historical Society digitized 10 volumes of the funeral register in memory of Jamie Sue Gallardi. This was money that was donated in her memory by her friends, which all of us, by the way, Ken Fletcher isn't her only friend. The records are so large that they do not fit on a flash drive. So he has misinformation. They have to have an external drive because the files are so large.
Gigs and gigs of them.
Right. And when we did our first 10, Mr. Mindenkowski talked to, he's the one who digitized these for us, and we talked about jump drives, flash drives, and he said, no, they will not hold that much. So you need to buy an external drive. And that's what we did to get the records. So, you know, that they fit on little thumb drives is incorrect. But I would like to really see if there isn't some technicality. You know, I find it very disheartening that Mr. Gallardi gave these records after Mrs. Gallardi died, and we only have, you know, his word. Why did she take them to the library almost 30 years ago and leave them all this time? If she really wanted Mr. Fletcher to have them, she would have given to him before she got sick and she died. So I would like to ask you to please help us keep these records here in our town. Don't let it be another thing that goes to Denver, and if we want to use it, we have to go to Denver. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. The black citizen who signed up, and thank you for waiting, Mr. Hathaway. Mr. Lee Hathaway.
How are y'all?
Welcome.
Well, y'all gonna have to bear with me. I got allergies in my voice box, so it may sound like I'm yelling, and I'm really not. And I also got a mouthful of cough drops, so
Oh, bless your heart.
if I get excited, y'all do.
You just tip that little microphone up to your mouth and that'll help you out.
Say, my name's Lee Hathaway, and I guess I'll probably be addressing y'all as one of three different people that's gonna swap back and forth. One would be a city employee, and another would be union president of the city employees, another would be a concerned citizen. We all know last year was just horrible, terrible year, full of turmoil. And then 1st of December, got the council pretty much situated. We got a new city manager to come in. Everything started looking good. Well, it's been about 6 months now. And I literally have people stopping me on the street. I don't know how to come to me, but they are. But they're asking, what's the plan? Where are we going? What are we doing? I just, what we're hearing is the art district and the art track, which I think is a great idea. And we keep hearing about damn walking trails, which we don't need more walking trails, can't maintain what we got. But and like I said, the art district, I believe that's a good idea. But to me, and to a lot of people that I talk to, that's gravy. That's the gravy that should be on the steak. I'm kind of wondering what the steak is. Tourism, driving downtown, I work for City Garage, so I'm driving downtown, picking up parts and whatnot. I see people downtown walking around with Trinidad brochures. Right? That's great. That means something's working because those people are not from here and they're stopping, they're lost half the time. But you can see them looking at brochures and going to the different places downtown. That's wonderful. But that'll run from about May through September. And that's, for the most part, that's about it. Now, one of my questions is, as far as economic development goes, we've got an industrial park out there. And like these gentlemen were talking about bringing jobs here, what type of incentives can we give businesses and industry to come into the industrial park? And as far as I'm concerned, give them free land. Don't come up with some type of contract. That's what you got lead sitting over here for. Say, we'll give you this land, you provide this many jobs. If it doesn't happen in 3 years or whatever, then you lose it. Give them tax credit, defer their taxes. But try to get businesses into that park. And I know it may not really sit well to give away property. We don't have to give all of it away. Yeah, but you can start small, run ads in the papers, just like what the Oklahoma land rush, hey, 40 acres and a mule, this kind of stuff. Do the same thing, get people here. This, those people have offered to give City of Trinidad the cash advance building. Well, I think now y'all are realizing it's gonna cost $160,000, or that's what I read in the paper anyhow, to bring it up to code and all this. Okay, well, now it's kind of hard for us to do that. We can't maintain the buildings we got. Well, and then I read where you're talking about, let's give it to a nonprofit. Well, that's fine, but a lot of times we're funding the nonprofits. Give it to somebody who's out to make a profit. Same thing, you want a business, we'll give you this building. With it, you provide X amount of jobs, which will put money into this economy. And like I say, I just work at the city garage. But this is stuff that I'm hearing being bounced around and all this stuff. There just doesn't seem to be a tremendous amount of urgency. And like I say, I had worked for the city for 8 years come October. Got one raise during that time. I'm sitting here, I've got 20 more years to go before I can retire. Well, those odds aren't real good. If I'm real lucky, I may get 2 raises in the next 20 years. And that's not gonna cut it. So, I say, what I'm asking is, let's light a fire. And let's try to get stuff going. I know you're fighting ARPA. And Lord knows that boggles my mind. But let's see some proactive stuff rather than react. One of the things that just irked me, and this is past and all, but the woman who set up the candy shop, she painted pink. Well, you had a bunch of folks that want his fit. She's trying, and my way of looking at it is you're liable to protect this town into extinction. You got to open your mind. You got to let stuff come in. And I want to commend Mr. Bernardo and Ms. Boxer Gonzalez for going to that community meeting up there at the community center on Friday night regarding the school district.
I believe Ms. Bolton.
Oh, that's right, you were. I do remember. I was going to say.
And Mr. Matei.
Okay, sorry, I was in the back. So, but, and something I said a year ago. A year ago, they lost 43 employees with this district. Well, that's a chunk of money. That's a bunch of money that's not being spent at Safeway and Walmart and these convenience stores around here. Well, the list of names they read off this year was 65 over the past 2 years. Well, if you figure $30,000 average, and that's probably low, but it makes my math a little easier, you're looking at about $2 million per year that is gone. Just flat gone from this community. Now, and I know that it's tough to say, well, we need to get involved with the school district. But what if it was another major employer that was having difficulties? Wouldn't we try to step in and preserve the jobs here in this community? And that's what you're doing. You're losing jobs, you're losing students. Honey's having a field day. They're turning away students right and left because they can. So, like I say, there's a lot of different avenues that I think need to be approached and aggressively pursued. And please throw input at me. Yes, ma'am.
I'll just mention something. Progress can be slow, and I share your sense of urgency, but there is not no progress. A year ago, there were 2 members of the Board of Economic Development, Trinidad and Los Alamos County Economic Development. As of 2 months ago, we now have a full board. We even had a waiting list for the board. The board is coalescing. I attended the last meeting, and they're pulling together a strategic plan, hopefully which will be presented to council in coordination with their request for second half funding. Okay, so there's motion going on there. Is there going to be follow through? I don't know. I hope there is. I'm trying to encourage the process as best I can. but we do have critical mass there right now, and I'm hoping something comes of that critical mass.
Well,
But I'll end on the point that progress has been slow, and I share your sense of urgency.
okay.
I would like to go as, I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me just finish. I would like to go as far as to say, if that board can inspire confidence from the citizens of Trinidad, I would love to see incentives provided by the city, and they might be funded through tax increases. Maybe some small mill levy, maybe something added to the tourism tax. Those are all things that have been discussed. But we need the people of Trinidad to be supporting that board, and we need that board to be inspiring the confidence of the citizens of
Sure.
Trinidad. And I would encourage you to make an appointment with Stephen Kelly and find out what he has going on and what he doesn't have going on. There may be some things you're not aware of.
Okay. Well, and I'm sure there probably is. But see, that's kind of the point. You know, we don't need some double knot secret plan that everybody, but everything that comes to the table, if it is discussed and if it's thrown out there, then we perceive that something's happening. And whether we're sitting at these meetings, and Lord knows I'm not coming to every one of these meetings or anything, I take up all week if I go to meetings. But we have two very good newspapers who do a pretty good job of reporting what's going on in the meetings. And so every single day I'm grabbing the paper, reading and looking, going, please let there be something. And walking trails, you know.
Well, I don't think everything gets reported. I will agree that the papers do a good job, but I will also mention to you that all of the economic development meetings, other than their executive sessions, which are things like discussing things with lawyers and talking about personnel matters, those are all open to the public.
Right.
And some of them are fairly well attended. Can I say that you'd walk away from there just feeling all of your concerns relieved? I guarantee you wouldn't. But you might want to show up to the next couple of them as the strategic plan and budget is being created. I would encourage you to.
Sure. Okay. Well, and like I say, I didn't put my name on the list till I read the agenda, because I was like, well, if I put my name on the list, get up here and talk about this, and then there's something earth shattering, then I'm gonna look like an idiot. Well, I don't think I really look like an idiot. You know, so, but like I said, that's all I've got, and like I say, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And I believe at this point in time, we're ready for the report on North Lake Dam.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
members of council, tonight we have with us Mike Graber. He's with the consulting firm of R.J.H. He did design work and is doing the oversight engineering of the North Lake Dam, and he's here to present updated reports.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Graber.
Good to see everyone, everybody, know your faces and some new faces. Those that don't know me, I've had a long working relationship with Mr. Hernandez and Linda. I was previously a state dam safety engineer for 20 years with the state engineer's office, and I've been with RGH for 4 years now, retired from the state. I'm very familiar with North Lake Dam, and I didn't realize what a tremendous asset that is to the city, North Lake and Monument Lake, till I assisted the city with a water conservation study. You came to realize that those two reservoirs supply water to about 85% of the population in Los Angeles County, not just the city of Trinidad, really from North Lake all the way to the Pinyon Canyon maneuver site, and all up and down the upper river, north and south of town here. It takes in a huge area in Los Angeles County, so it's a tremendous asset. It's critical infrastructure. I'll give you kind of a brief recap of the project. The construction got underway the first week in September of 2012 and continued until the last week of November of 2012. The construction was split into 2 phases, a first phase and a second phase. The first phase did not get completed. It was basically the contractor, Sun Construction, was able to remove the spillway and was able to grout 1 abandoned outlet pipe. The primary work that did not get completed in phase 1 was construction of the spillway. That will get constructed under phase 2. Basically, the contractor was behind in their phase 1 construction. We asked him to revise his construction schedule. It's an aggressive schedule that shows him to be complete by September 5th when he's contractually required to be completed. Because he's substantially complete. And then I think it's like November 20th that he's got to be 100% complete. Work completed today to date is removal of the spillway. We've got a van and outlet pipe that's been grouted that was in the intake structure of the reservoir. We have one below the dam that had been previously grouted that was still leaking some water. That had a secondary grouting performed. That was done this spring. A section of the existing outlet pipe was removed that's going under a big stability berm, and a new pipe was put in, originally a